I've got an article here. Maybe I'll be able to read this. Oh, boys. Jocker.
Take two.
Jocker Flacker.
Meet the Jockers.
You tried your best, and you failed miserably. The lesson is, never try. Right in the butt. That was great.
Jocker, what do I do? Falls down with 39 million to 40 million openings. Actually, what was it? 38.7 or 37.8?
37.8 million, which is less than Morbius. Morbius wins again.
Oh, maybe it'll get re-released.
This is the time, Morbius. This is the time you should really release it. I promise we'll all go out and see it.
How the sequel went sideways. Sunday box office. It went down. What was the God, I wish Odin was here. Just kidding, Odin. What was the percentage of drop from first week to second week? 75%?
Yikes.
Domestic, I believe.
Yeah, all we have is that
estimate, by the way.
Yeah, the Thursday to Thursday, which Thursday previews are probably going to be higher than a normal Thursday. So it's tough. It's not tracking well though. It has not tracked well throughout the week. So people are expecting a pretty big drop off this weekend.
Wow. This isn't a box office marketplace problem. This is a creative development problem, declared one movie marketing vet this weekend over at Warner Brothers. Bold swing with a foul Joker folie blah 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 blah, whatever the fuck it is. It's a shit. It's shit. I spit on it. Which is a production cost. It had a production cost of 190 million. I heard 200. Is coming on the way. It's coming in way below forecast at 39 million, steeper than the 47 million, which was spotted by The Town yesterday. Warner is reporting 40 million this morning. Others are saying lower. Amazingly, the studio's overseas 80 million projection held up with what's coming in at 81.1 million, total worldwide 121.1 million, not 140 million.
You remember what the worldwide number was for the first one?
More than that.
It was on 250 million was the worldwide weekend or opening weekend for the first one.
The comparison of the legs on these two films. I wonder which one is going to have been the one to last longer.
Yeah, I definitely don't think word of mouth's going to help this one too much. I think it's
no.
Interestingly, the kind of money that this second one is making in is more, I think, what everyone was expecting the first one to make, especially with the budget of the first one. It's just like reversed.
They wanted $1 billion from this. They didn't give it $200 million to not get $1 billion. And now they're just pointing fingers at each. I don't know what's true.
What I think is that, to be honest, two things can be true. Warner Brothers can be pointing fingers at Todd Phillips and blaming him. And that could also be true. You know, the way everything was set up when James Gunn and Peter Safran came on, pretty much the only things that weren't touched were Matt Reeves. He had a Penguin spinoff and a Batman 2 that he was going to do, and Joker 2 with Todd Phillips. Those were basically the only projects that were allowed to continue on, and it felt like those were really outside of their hands and not going to be under DC like studios control or anything like that. So the stuff that's now coming out specifically about Todd Phillips, I 100% think it's damage control by Warner Brothers to let everybody know, hey, this is what Todd Phillips wanted to do. These people weren't involved. But I think that can also be true. Like I just don't. I think Todd Phillips made exactly the movie he wanted to make, or the movie that he got talked into doing. We'll put it that way, because I don't think he wanted to do a second one at all.
Talked into by who?
Warner Brothers. They it seems like they were desperate to have a sequel because they didn't get as much cash out as they wanted on the first one because of certain distribution deals that they had.
Specifically to have a sequel, not necessarily what it was going to be about, because as we know, Joaquin Phoenix came to him in a dream, at least somewhat, which is always good. And then, of course,
if you dreamt this movie,
I know, right?
He came to Joaquin Phoenix in a dream a day after Warner Brothers offered him $20 million.
Exactly.
The money that they spent on Joaquin Phoenix, Lady Gaga, and Todd Phillips. So 20 million and 20 million for Joaquin and for Todd Phillips, and 12 million for Lady Gaga. That is basically the budget for the first one right there.
Yep.
Do you think the studio people are like, please let us meddle next time? You guys don't like it when we do, but we could have saved you from this if you let us get in the way of Todd.
But either way, this is the sixth DC flop in a row.
Oof.
which is fucking incredible. Even Cinema Blend, that fucking shill Cinema Blend, wrote about this, saying, yeah, James Gunn's got to be a little worried about the brand damage, which is something we were saying every time DC released a movie and it lost money. We can also point out that the second most profitable DC movie of the last 3 years is Batgirl, the one they killed. And they made more money off the tax write-off, so it's technically the second most profitable, the Batman. And if anybody would have picked the random Batman villain solo series that we didn't know we needed was the Penguin would be better. I wouldn't have called that one. No way.
Me neither. And I think, like, in terms of the James Gunn DC universe is trying to reboot, I'm not sure the Penguin's doing it any favors, because the result of that is I just want to see a sequel to the Batman now. I want to see this universe more. And I don't care about James Gunn's universe.
Oh, dude. If their response is we're going to do more villains and not show Batman, I'm just fucking done. No.
It probably will be. Because it's entirely unrelated to the Batman universe. You could literally change the name and never know where it was from if they didn't call him Penguin.
It's almost like a movie called Joker.
Well, yeah.
Right.
But that was the problem
It's
with
almost
the
like
sequel.
if you just use these, if you use these, like, not everything has to be, hey, this standard fucking hero format that we've seen. You can do things in these universes as long as you're competently writing them and telling a good story. Things can work like this. Remember the first episode of Agatha, where it was like 15 minutes of, man, what if we really were just following a cop around randomly in the Marvel universe? You don't have to interact with superheroes, but weird shit's going down. I kind of want to see what a well-written cop like movie would be like. Well,
figuring it out.
Well-written,
Yeah,
but it got the idea of it like started.
The thing is, the Penguin is still kind of following the hero story. It's still a guy going out, struggling, overcoming the challenges, rising up the ranks. He's just doing it for the other side. So he's breaking the law, but we haven't seen him go out and randomly slaughter civilians or anything yet, or make the audience dislike him as a person. They have to make it so that you still root for him, even though he's doing kind of crime.
It is relatively reliable, I think, what Ryan is saying, that like if you go unconventional or even unadvisable, we all would not, like, when we heard about this, we're like, this is not a good move, not a reliable move. But if you do it, you're gonna have to make it real good. You can't rely on a bunch of other factors for this. And so far, because I don't want to speak for the rest of the show yet, they've done a pretty good job. And it seems like the viewership is probably going to build. And then, of course, it's like, so what after that? And it sounds a bit, I don't know, pessimistic or cynical, but they could very well be like, hey, can you do this with another one? We'll just toss you another character.
I don't think any of that's happening. I think that Penguin's coming out. I think Batman 2 is coming out, and that's it.
That's it.
Because it's just James Gunn and Peter Safran. Like, these are the only things that were left in the tank. Probably the reason these two were left alone was because they're follow-ups to things that were already profitable for them, successes for them, which was Joker and the Batman. And they already had these relationships and these contracts in place and wanted them to continue. The only thing that James Gunn wasn't really allowed to touch during this reboot.
Do you know how much money was spent on Joker? What the budget was?
200 million-ish for the production budget and about $100 million for marketing. So they got about $300 million sunk into this thing that is probably going to struggle to hit that at the box office.
And even with the wages, I have no idea where the rest of the money went. They got extortionate amounts of money, but the rest of it didn't show on the screen in a few sets.
How much money do you think would have to be made from both Penguin's, engagement and then Batman 2 for them to actually continue that line, do you think?
Nothing.
It would have to be James Gunn's decision. Like, they've given him so much power at this point. As Ryan said, there's certain projects he couldn't axe because of when the contract was done. By the way, if anybody thought that they weren't working on contracts or hiring actors during the strike, then I've got some swampland in Florida to sell you right now, because there is too soon. Sorry. Yeah, there's a lot of evidence with a certain Superman actor that he bulked up during during Twisters, and they did the reshoots after the strike, and they had to do some stuff.
He can't work out on his own recognizance, Gary.
Of course not. It's plausible deniability, of course. That they had to CG him thinner.
Oh no!
At least it wasn't a mustache.
Yeah. At least it wasn't a mustache. Yeah, they were working on deals throughout the strike, so they won't say that out loud, but they were absolutely.
Do you think this could go both ways? Because like the previous movies being bad just before your time does give you an opportunity to go, well, that wasn't anything to do with me, and mine's just better compared to that. But if you've got a good show, well, now you've also got something you've got to beat because that's met the new standard. And we saw what happened with Star Trek. of Picard season 3. Well, that won't be carrying on at any point because Kurtzman wasn't involved. And so I think if you've got this prestige show that people like that was nothing to do with you, you kind of want to clear that out of the way just as well as the bad stuff. Because
as we said before, it shows that you could absolutely do a Batman TV show. It would probably be better at this point to do a Batman TV show and forget doing him in the movies. Batman's been so freaking overdone in the comic books and even arguably in the movies at this point. Like, what? Let it be Superman show for a little while. Why not? Even though it's not. Either way, James Gunn is definitely nervous. He has to be nervous. He has to make probably one of the, if not the greatest Superman movie of all time. He has to make one of the greatest. He can't just, this cannot be a mediocre movie or pretty good. It's got to be fucking great. Warner Brothers is in a position there. If you don't think they can back out of deals, they can back out of deals whenever the fuck they want. They don't want to because, listen, Warner Brothers is the dumbest company in the world. They control DC. They have the fucking distribution rights to Lord of the Rings. They have the distribution rights to Harry Potter, and they haven't been able to do fucking shit over the last 2 years. And one time they did something right, the Joker, they fucked up the sequel and they didn't make any money off the first one. They're stupid. They're continually stupid.
What's the timeline for the next Superman movie?
It's next year.
Yeah, and we already know that it's going to be, they're treating it like a launch pad for the entire universe. So we're going to get like 1,000 characters in it, which is probably not the way to go at all.
No.
So if everyone was betting on Joker 2, I'm just going to say Joker 2, I don't speak fucking French, as being a winning tentpole in their fantasy box office league a year out, well, sorry, you just lost a ton of cash. The sequel based on a DC Comics character is one of the lowest sequel openings in memory to a major franchise film. And they're going to bring it up in a second, based on a comic book. It's certainly lower than the start of Marvel Studios' bomb last fall, The Marvels. Oof. And that was a 46.1 million opening. More people saw The Marvels at 3.3 million admissions in its opening weekend versus The Joker. Oh, are they counting tickets now?
Oh, wow.
Whoa. It's weird that we're counting tickets again.
Actually using that.
Yeah. Interesting. I thought they stopped doing that. Huh.
I am almost positive, though, that Joker probably had a higher international number than The Marvels. That would be my guess.
It was also a rated R movie. So
yes, yeah.
Interestingly enough, it's not the lowest opening for a DC movie on record. That goes to Josh Brolin's Western Jonah Hex. I saw that opening night. And you know what? Jonah Hex is better than than Joker 2. And I understood it, believe it or not.
Does Jonah Hex get a prison scene where in the shower? Or?
He's not.
That would have made him a perfect movie.
He does not. No one wanted to see Joker 2, though I know one person who did, who actually enjoyed it, especially when compared to the October record domestic start of the 2019 first film of 96.2 million. So they're breaking.
We could write an article where the legitimate brag is, I know one person that liked it. That's the only saving grace of the article.
Oh, there's some people who liked it. There's cinephiles and people who, I mean, unlike us media illiterate people who just didn't understand it at all. They liked it. And some said, we're going to like it in the future. And they're going to compare it to Blade Runner again, because that never happens, MauLer.
Do you remember they've been saying that like yearly about TLJ? They're like desperate. It's like, you got to like it. Yeah. It's going to happen. Give it a second. It's like, it's going to happen any second now.
But that's not really what we're talking about, right? It's not like, oh, you just didn't get it, Blade Runner, blah, blah. This would be like if it was Blade Runner 2 and people were saying that, right? If it's like a follow-up 5 years after Blade Runner, and Blade Runner was a massive, huge success upon its opening, has this built-in audience that's ready to go see the second one, and people are like, oh, you just didn't get it, man. You know, all you people that came out expecting to see, you know, something similar to what you saw 5 years ago, you just didn't get it, bro. That must be it.
You cannot compare the scenario in the same way you can't compare TLJ. Everyone was raring to go, and it was hyper-obsessed, and everyone was, yes, let's do it, that it fucking split the fandom in half and annihilated Star Wars. How can you compare? You'd be like, oh, yeah, that's kind of what happened to Blade Runner. No.
People be like, well, you know, Empire Strikes Back wasn't loved back in the day.
My God.
It was just,
It was, people were split on Empire. Here's a 4 out of 5 review that says Empire isn't that great.
Yeah. Do you guys think a Joker TV show could have happened or done better than Joker 2?
Like Joaquin Phoenix type, or
a lot of things could have done better than
it's the writing, right? It's the core story. Because if it were a TV show or movie or even a fucking video game, to be honest with you, it just needs to not have him get unjokered by rape. That's probably not the best. That's
that
the
was
meme
the point
now.
of the movie. That's
Well, the meme now is Batman should have raped Joker, and that's the meme.
Gary, if Batman had done it, I think we'd all be like, well, that's good source material stuff right
would
there.
understand.
Yeah.
We've all read that comic.
That's why I understand it and hate it, because the message of the movie is what I despise. The entire thing is about submission, and if you actually went and obeyed them, then his life would have been better in the first place. And his actual problem was the fact that he did rebel in the first place, and so he had to be crushed. This is a horrible message to put in a movie where there's supposed to be...
Bruce, sorry to interrupt, very on point for Hollywood nowadays. Supposedly the counterculture and the rebels, they're all for the state now. So I guess it kind of checks out in that sense.
The sequel had to follow on from the first, so you had to have him being the Joker at the start, and then you could either go either way. He could win, or he could still end up getting stabbed, but there had to be that high peak of him actually being the Joker. But because Todd Phillips hates superhero movies and thinks he's the real movie maker, I'm just an artist and I'm above all those superhero things, I'm going to sneak a real movie in here. He couldn't make that movie because he thinks that's the terrible bit, where the best bit of the Joker movie was when he was the Joker. So what I like the most is the bit he hated most about the movie. And so he couldn't make that movie because it would go against everything he wanted to do. So he killed him instead.
That would be a bizarre thing to have watched that film with him, like Todd Phillips in the cinema, and to be like, oh, this was good, and just watch him be like, no, you weren't supposed to like that.
Watch it again.
Because you're absolutely right. So that baffled me when I was first watching it, is opening on him having regressed, and it's like 2 years on, and he's been hit with medications, and he's not even telling jokes, and he barely even speaks. I was like, what?
You could have ended the second movie in that position, but that would have been, you would have had the superhero movie in the middle that then ended up with him in prison getting crushed. And so because that's the movie he didn't want to make, he just skipped it and went right to the end.
The guy at the end of Joker 1 in that scene with where he says you wouldn't get it, that character's just gone. And get to see him again.
Where did he go?
I would like to see more of that guy, but this film says that scene didn't even happen. So,
and it's funny, the brief moment where he actually embraces the Joker when he starts to conduct his own trial thing. It's one of the few times where I actually was entertained. It's like, oh, now I'm enjoying this, and then it's over really quickly.
When he's talking to Mr.
Mr. And it's like, really your name?
Puddles.
Like,
Puddles.
Yeah, that's
Gary Puddles.
And I also think that the sequence where he's trying to be Joker in trial, that is the best musical segment of the entire thing, where the music actually works for something that's going on in the moment, as opposed to just go to like a Wheel of Fortune set and have them sing randomly and then come back.
Yeah.
The Joker,
where they actually work the music into something that was happening in the courtroom. That was the best musical spot, I thought.
We get so little of the Joker, and then it fundamentally deconstructs the Joker completely, have him abandoned. It's like, you were supposed to enjoy this when you're offering the opposite of what the audience expects when they come into it.
I think that's the point, though. Put yourself in his position. So you want to make a real movie, but you hate superhero movies. But the superhero movie is the bit that everybody likes. So now what you have, you're making a sequel, and everyone still likes the superhero bit, but they hate your art. It's going to make you hate the audience because they're liking it wrong specifically. Everything that you think is the top quality bit, they can't stand. And everything you think is just the generic slop for the peasants is what they actually crave. So it's going to make you hate your industry, hate your job, and hate those people. And the only attitude to that is, if you want to be spiteful, you throw all your toys out the pram and destroy what they love. Because that's what you despise.
This was definitely a throw my toys out the pram, pee on all of them, set them on fire sort of film.
I found the switching to the musical kind of interludes of them on stage to be a bit confusing. I get it. It's artistic, but I don't know. It kind of confused me at certain points.
It was a waste. The problem to me was it was not confusing enough because 75% of the musical moments, they're happening clearly in visions, hallucinations. This is not real life. Where I feel like it would have been better served and had people asking more questions about what was going on if they had been doing more of the musical shit within the movie itself. And is it just Joker and Harley that are thinking this musical is going on? Is do you know what I mean? It's just one of these people. Is it both of them? And I think it should have been run through Harley Quinn. The same questions we were having about what's real and what's not real. I think they should have done that story with Harley as Joker as her obsession.
Yeah, that would have worked so much better.
You can do something different, not do a straight up, hey, let's do the same thing again, and also have a chance to make some big twist or big reveal fucking 20 minutes before the finale to shock everybody. That's not just, hey guys, guess how we subverted your expectations? We undid everything about the first one.
Yeah, while
didn't see that coming, did you?
Plus, if you're gonna do a musical, you might as well do it full floor. Like, if you're already gonna take the heat for making this movie a musical, and they did get heat for that, then actually make it one. Like, that was the other problem that I have with the musical scenes, is that they were hardly even musical numbers. Like a lot of it was barely Eddie singing. Like when they actually jumped into the fantasy, it kind of got to that level, but it was still very light. Like, even though musicals were there and the musical singing was there, it was so light. It's hard to really quantify this as even a musical. And so you're wasting $10 million to get Gaga in there, and you're barely utilizing her. And then you're putting the musicals in there, which is going to turn a lot of people off. It's almost like, honestly, as we've been kind of indicating, like, this guy, I think, made these decisions because he's like, screw everybody attached to this. I'm going to make this the most unlikable thing ever.
It's Gaga.
It was a lot of
Gaga,
slow, sleepy talk singing.
Well, so can I just say, we've done like 3 or 4 significantly broad different layers of criticism for the musical. I got another 2 I want to do, and I'm just like, it's so amazing how much this film fails in so many different ways. Because another one is, I didn't feel like I gained much of any information from any of the sequences. They oftentimes, the way I described it on Open Bar was let's say he shoots a person in the head, and then the song will be like, I just shot a guy in the head. Here I go, shooting people in the head.
We need to build a mountain. Yeah. I still don't know what that means.
What was the mountain? Yeah.
Well, build something together. I don't know, but that would count as well. This is what I mean. I didn't gain.
I don't know.
I didn't know. All these mountain. Songs, I oftentimes would have X information. The song completes, and I'm like, yep, I knew all of that. Like, if she starts falling for him, then there's a song of her falling for him, and then he likes her a lot, and then there's a song of him liking her, and I'm like, yeah, they're not doing a lot here. And then, of course,
the thing, those songs are just songs, right? They're not. Yeah. It's not dialogue. Like, they're gonna build a mountain. That is a song that exists, right? It's so they were like bonding over singing that song and getting excited about that song, but it really has no meaning.
It doesn't move the story forward at all. Yeah.
I don't know. I just felt like it wasn't working on almost every level, except maybe like lighting or sets. It was like, they look neat. Yeah.
This is something that like the modern art world has done a lot of. They'll make something crap, but it's vague. So it's just like a square with ripples on the edge, and then they leave it to all the pretentious people to come along and go, actually, this is a symbol of like a portal to another realm, and the wavy lines mean that it's inviting. You can go through this portal. And it's a square on a page. It's not that deep. And I think that's what a lot of this, it like doesn't mean anything, but you will have people who go out and try and invest it with basically their own projection onto the work, and then just say no one else understands it because they didn't see it the way they did.
What is this post from?
Garrett put it up. What's it from?
It's on Twitter.
It's on Twitter. Okay, I'll read it. It might be a meme. I don't know. Let's find out together.
Okay.
I trust 3/4 of Garrett, so it's all good.
What if you just trust the empty bit at the top?
Wow, Garrett.
Here we go.
That's 3/4 more than. Never mind.
Start talking like Joker did during that.
Could you make it a little bigger, Garrett? Because I can't read it that small.
Just proving that it's.
That's what she said.
I trust you. I would tell you that I think it's so sad so many people do not get the point of the movie. We were supposed to be disappointed because the whole movie is about Joker not being the crazy Joker everyone loves, but just a mentally sick man, Arthur Fleck. The musical parts weren't supposed to be good. They should show you how Arthur Fleck disassociates himself from bad things that happened through singing and dancing, because that's what he always does. Yes, the movie was not as good as the first one, but it was the whole point of it. To see Joker not as this person who everyone praised, but the man he is. Arthur Fleck, who gets looked down on and spit on by society. How can people call a movie boring where a mentally ill man gets humiliated and beaten up? The acting was a masterpiece. Right? Everyone who said otherwise, I want you to know, I can't even read. I want you
Try playing.
Thank you. Joker one time in your life and fake that forced laugh he always makes. You guys are just so addicted to action and thrill because your short attention span. Next time you hate on a movie, try to understand it first. Who is that from?
Next time you don't like a movie, try to like it first.
What are they suggesting? That the first film is some action-packed romp where a guy gets to do whatever he wants? Like, as if
I don't even think he's thought that far about the first movie, to be honest.
It's so weird, because it's like, why do you think the first one resonates and the second one doesn't? Do you think the first one sucks ass? Is that what? Because they clearly said that this one is worse in this post. So
yeah, he's justifying, like, just because it's about mental illness means it should be underwhelming and a bit confusing and disjointed.
Obviously, there was a big controversy with the first one that the media attempted to spin up. Even with that being the case, is something like around a 70% critic score for the movie itself. But there was a decent amount of people trying to stir shit and pretending like, well, there's just a lot of weak white incels that are celebrating this. They look at him as a hero. I think a very small percentage of people looked at Arthur Fleck in the first movie as some sort of hero. Now, can you have some like sympathy and shit like that? Of course you can, but he's doing like really horrific shit because he's been pushed past this breaking point. He's a mentally ill person, and it's just a reflection of all of that. I think very few people saw him as an inspiration or something to strive for, and more people saw it as a warning sign. So
I think the closest we'll get is there are elements of his journey that we can relate to in some way. As in, I think I could have been brought to make some of these decisions at the worst points in my life. And there's things that everyone's been through that you'd be like, shit, man, if everything went wrong in the right way, I could do some things that I probably regret. But at the same time, it gives him that sense of identity and freedom that he'd never gotten in his whole life, you know, and you sort of watch it and just, it's kind of a marvel. You're like, wow, that's a bold choice. You know, like I quite love the shot where he's on the police car and he's got all those people surrounding him and he's finally seen, he's understood, so to speak, in the world, you know, and you wouldn't get it to the psychiatrist, because of course you wouldn't. How could she possibly understand? We do, because we watched all of it. We're the audience. We saw all of the pieces. So yeah, the idea that you take that and you go, oh no, you weren't supposed to like him. You just sort of like, calm down. It's okay. It's okay.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.